In a futuristic city where technology and biotechnology intertwined intricately, the hum of machines and the glow of screens created a highly digitized environment. Valentina Drake, a biomedical engineer, was on the verge of developing a project that could improve the lives of millions, but it also carried profound ethical dilemmas. Her research focused on neural interfaces capable of deciphering unusual light patterns emitted from an isolated structure in the icy mountains near Reykjavik. The ancient building attracted fishermen and intrigued scientists with its hypnotic light, which seemed to guide lost vessels through the winter fog. She spent nights analyzing data collected by drones sent to the site, records revealing light frequencies similar to biological codes. One day, while adjusting a sensor in the lab, she received an encrypted message with coordinates and a single phrase, "Come to the structure before others reach it." The source was unknown, but the digital signature contained ancient symbols linked to abandoned pre-digital era experiments. Intrigued, she planned a visit to the lighthouse for the following night. Upon arrival, she found a weather-beaten building whose rotating light emitted rhythmic pulses echoing like heartbeats. The air was thick with ice particles reflecting light in mesmerizing fractal patterns. While collecting soil samples, she noticed the snow around the structure melting into precise geometric shapes, something impossible to explain by natural laws. She connected her analysis device to the structure and detected resonance with obsolete biochips used in military projects decades ago. At that moment, a figure emerged from the snowstorm. Dr. Salvador Patrick, a veteran mentor in biotechnology, known for abandoning careers after ethical failures in his projects. He carried yellowed documents and an analog meter. Valentina hesitated, but allowed him to approach. Patrick observed the patterns on the ground and murmured, "This isn't an ordinary building, it's a transmitter." Questioned, he explained that during the Cold War, the site had been used for interdimensional communication experiments, utilizing biophotons generated by modified organisms. The experiments were halted after accidents, but the structure remained active, powered by a self-sufficient source buried beneath the ice. He warned, "Technology can save lives, but it can also destroy. Know what you are creating." Valentina realized that her neural interfaces might be reactivating dormant systems capable of altering human perceptions or even local realities. As they discussed, one of the sensors detected a fluctuation in the structure's light, followed by interference in all communication frequencies in the region. Patrick suggested immediately shutting down the device, but she insisted on recording more data. In that instant, the lighthouse door creaked open on its own, revealing a brilliant core inside, a pulsating mass of interwoven biological tissue and circuits emitting the mysterious light. She felt an instant connection with the structure, as if the entity responded to her presence. Patrick recoiled, muttering, "This shouldn't exist." Ignoring his warning, she reached out to touch the core, triggering a sequence of events neither of them could have foreseen. Touching the core, a discharge coursed through her body, as if each cell was being aligned to an unknown frequency. The air around her began to vibrate, and the patterns of melting snow expanded, forming spirals that glowed with increasing intensity. Patrick screamed for her to retreat, but his voice sounded distant, as if coming from another place. She couldn't look away from the pulsating mass that now projected fragmented images into her mind. Scenes of frozen oceans, bioluminescent creatures, and human faces deformed by suffering. She realized the core wasn't just a machine, but a living archive, storing memories of failed experiments and lost lives from the Cold War. Patrick's measuring device emitted a shrill alarm, as the numbers surpassed known scales of biophoton energy. In that instant, a burst of white light flooded the structure, and she was thrown backward, colliding with the icy wall. When she regained consciousness, she saw that Patrick had vanished, and the lighthouse door was sealed by a thick layer of dark ice that seemed to absorb all light around it. She tried using her communicator, but the frequency was blocked by interference identical to the core's transmissions. Stepping out of the building, she noticed the landscape had changed. The distant mountains were closer, and the snow fell at impossible angles, forming structures resembling printed circuits. As she walked back to her vehicle, she saw footprints in the snow that weren't hers or Patrick's. They abruptly disappeared in a straight line towards the frozen sea. Hours later, back in the lab, she discovered that all the data collected at the structure had been replaced by artificial DNA sequences and coordinates of locations around the world where similar core structures were found in ancient ruins. She also received an encrypted invitation to a meeting at an underwater research center in the Arctic, signed by an organization using the same symbol as Patrick's documents. Analyzing the new information, She realized her neural interface was integrating with the core's data, allowing her to see connections between the structure's biophotons and patterns of human neurodegenerative diseases. This made her question if her original research was an attempt at cure or control. As dusk fell, she decided to return to the lighthouse, determined to confront Patrick and uncover the truth. But upon arrival, she found only a crater where the building had stood before. In its center, a single fragment of the core glowed faintly, its light pulsing in sync with her racing heartbeat. She knelt at the edge of the crater. The fragment radiated a light that oscillated between blue and red, accompanying the rhythm of her rapid breathing. The air was heavy with a low hum, as if coming from inside her head. She activated her neural interface, and immediately an avalanche of information flooded her vision. Coordinates of distant locations, like the ruins of a submerged temple in the Sea of Bear Moss and an abandoned station in Antarctica, all connected by the same biophoton pattern. Simultaneously, unwanted visions began to surface in her mind. Scenes of civilians during the Cold War subjected to modulated light experiments, their bodies transforming into crystal statues, while masked scientists recorded results. A warning flashed in her retina. Critical frequency reached. Host synchronization initiated. She tried to deactivate the device, but the commands were unresponsive. The fragment began to float towards her, adhering to the palm of her hand as if it were a living organism. The pain was instantaneous and overwhelming, invisible circuits integrating with her nerves, while unknown voices whispered in dead languages. In the distance, 3 figures emerged from the fog, wearing uniforms with a symbol of a serpent coiled around an atom, identical to the one on the invitation she had received hours before. They carried containment equipment and precision weapons, but moved slowly, as if traversing something dense, almost liquid. She realized the fragment was distorting her perception of time and space around her. One of the men shouted something inaudible, and a tranquilizer dart zipped past her shoulder. She ran towards the mountains. The snow melted beneath her feet in patterns that looked like mathematical equations. As she fled, the fragment pulsed faster, projecting holograms of a global map with flashing red dots, marking locations where similar core structures were active. One location caught her attention, a deactivated power plant in Canada, where colleagues had disappeared months earlier during research on bioquantum energy. Suddenly, one of the visions became too vivid, showing her, in an alternate future, standing before a global assembly, advocating for the use of technology to control populations. Patrick was there, looking at her with an expression of disapproval. Reality shifted, and she found herself back at the crater, the fragment now fused to her left hand. Her neural interface displayed a final message: self-awareness protocol activated. Do you wish to initiate the global replication sequence?